Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've shared my entire fragrance collection with you, so today I am giving you the grand tour. If you've been with me for a while, you might remember my very first fragrance collection video. It was back in 2020 at the old apartment. I had a little gold bar cart that sat in the corner of the room, and at the time I had 65 full-size fragrances. The following year, I filmed another collection video and I had 120 fragrances. Well, in 2024, I counted right before I sat down to film, I currently have 285 full-size fragrances, 14 body mists, body sprays, about 40 travel sprays and roller balls, and I want to say I think 4 or 5 fragrances that are still in the box. It's a lot. Even for a content creator, it is a lot of fragrances. I think of this collection as more of a scent library because it doesn't necessarily reflect my personal preferences. I actually think it would be far more impressive and be a far more high quality collection if I had gone out myself and purchased all of these fragrances. But that's not the case. I would say the majority of these fragrances were actually sent to me complimentary to review. I've reached a point where now, fortunately, a lot of brands, if they have a new fragrance launch, they'll send it my way, and that way I can unbox it on camera with you and share my opinions. There are certainly pros and cons to having such a huge collection. Something I've realized over the past few years that I wanted to share with you is there definitely comes a point of diminishing returns. I'm not exactly sure what number that is. Maybe it's around 50 fragrances max, but once you keep adding fragrances and you get to the hundreds, to the thousands, I know there are plenty of fragrance creators out there with thousands of fragrances, you just can't possibly appreciate and enjoy them all. It wouldn't be possible. There are only 365 days in a year. I have almost 300 full-size fragrances. There are fragrances that I love that I would want to wear that I just sort of forget about them, or maybe they get tucked away on one of the shelves and it's a little bit inconvenient to grab them. And I think as humans, we are creatures of habit. It is human nature that we want simplicity, we want routine. I find myself pretty regularly gravitating towards the same group of fragrances. I might rotate them out depending on the season, but I'm still usually grabbing the same few that are top of mind. Even still, I don't have a lot of fragrances in my collection with really significant dents in them because it's just so hard to do. I have always preached quality over quantity, and I think it's time that I get back to that. So one of the reasons why I really wanted to film this video is because I'm thinking of doing a bit of a reorganization. I definitely need to declutter some of these fragrances. I really want to organize everything by mood or scent category. That way I could have all of my florals, all of my fall fragrances. I could create an entire section dedicated to just princess perfumes. That would make me so happy. I think it would work so much better on a day-to-day basis, and it would help me find what I'm looking for. I'm not sure when it's going to happen because I haven't sourced the furniture yet. If anybody has any suggestions or ideas, if you know of any places that I should look, please let me know. But at some point soon, this shelf situation is going to go. All right, let's get into it. I'm starting at one of the top shelves, and I actually purchased these plastic risers from Amazon. I was inspired by Josephine from Jus de Rose. I thought I was going to love them more than I do. The problem with them is that they eat up a lot of space. I can see things better, it's easier to grab fragrances, but I can't fit nearly as many fragrances per shelf anymore, so I'm kind of torn about these. Back there on the top row is my Fragrance de Bois collection, starting with Santal Complete, one of my favorites, Siberian Rose, Oud Orange Intense, Secret Tryst, Minuit et Demi, a classic, New York Fifth Avenue, another favorite, Heritage, and Oud Jaune Intense. Now that one is probably my all-time favorite from the brand, just because it definitely plays to my personal preferences. It's very tropical, floral, perfect for Miami. One step down are my Victoria Migne fragrances. These are some of my favorites in the collection. These are all incredible, they're special, they're standouts, truly amazing powerhouse fragrances that I think everybody needs to know about. The black bottle right in the middle is Hedonist Rose Absolute by Victoria Migne, followed by Hedonist Iris Absolute by Victoria Migne, one of my favorites. And then the one that started it all, Hedonist by Victoria Minya. These are all classy, sophisticated, wealthy woman fragrances. It's so difficult to choose my favorite from the brand. Hedonist is very solar. It smells a bit like honey. There's warmth. It smells very opulent, but it's more of a night out, special occasion, a birthday celebration type of fragrance. Whereas Hedonist Iris Absolute is a little bit softer, a little bit more reserved, and I feel like even though I wouldn't say I like it more than Hedonist, I could probably get more use out of it just because that's a fragrance that I want to wear on a date night every weekend, any occasion possible actually. In the front row is my Une Nuit Nomade collection, starting with my favorite from the brand, Jardin de Misfa. This is an incredible floral fragrance. It's a little sweet, a little gourmand. It smells like a princess perfume. Next we have Murmure des Dieux, a beautiful floral fragrance, followed by Summa Oriental, and finally, Sugar Leather. I think this is one of the best fragrance launches of 2023. It's the perfect combination of leather and sweetness. It's a little gourmand, but it's very sophisticated by the leather. It's definitely a cool it girl fragrance. When I wear this, I feel like I have to pair it with a moto jacket or knee-high leather boots, maybe a designer handbag, something leather but very chic. And the final two fragrances that fit on this shelf are both from La Vanilla. This is one of my favorite affordable brands. I know I purchased one of these from Amazon. I have Vanilla Summer and Vanilla Grapefruit. Vanilla Grapefruit will blow you away. It's vanilla, it's a little citrusy. I'm not usually a citrus fan, but I love this fragrance. I want to say you can pick these up for about $40 each, which really is not bad. Moving downstairs to the shelf directly below, this is where things start to get a little bit complicated. I think you can start to see that I have some issues with my organization. I don't think you can really see, but in the very back shelf, that's where I've been keeping all of my Wilhelm Parfumerie fragrances. There are 5 fragrances stacked on top of each other. And this is a really strong niche fragrance house. I would love to get more use out of these fragrances. I have Moon Carnival, Dear Polly, Do Not Disturb, Poets of Berlin, and Mango Skin. And that is why I very rarely grab fragrances from the back, and I always grab my Ariana Grande fragrance from the front. On the second and third tier, I have my Parfum de Marly fragrances lined up, mostly the feminine scents with the exception of Eau Jaune, which is a really beautiful, spicy apple cinnamon fragrance. I really only wear it fall, winter, but it's gorgeous, one of my favorites. I want to say it comes in different packaging now, but I love Eau Jaune. The rest of the feminine fragrances are incredible. Some of my all-time favorites from Parfum de Marly, including Oriana, Cassily, Delina, of course, Delina Le Rosé, Delina Exclusive. I've kept Valaya for now. Every once in a while, I'll spritz it just to see if my opinion has changed. It's an incredibly strong fragrance, but I'm still not 100% in love with it, so I'm not really sure what to do with Valaya. I will probably keep it just for reference, but I also have Athalia, Meliora, Safenade. Darcy is one of my dark horse favorites. It reminds me a lot of Coco Mademoiselle. And then tucked in the corner there, I have the Delina body oil. I couldn't find any place else to put it, so I just kind of slid it right there in the crack. And then down at the bottom, I have my Ariana Grande fragrances, which are surprisingly really good. I actually picked these up for a campaign with Ulta last year. Getting the opportunity to try more from the fragrance line really opened my eyes. This is one of my most worn fragrances at the moment. Anytime I'm running errands, if I'm going to the gym, I wear this fragrance. I love it. It's very affordable. My husband always compliments me, tells me I smell like toasted coconut, and it's just a pretty happy fragrance, and it's an easy grab. It's an easy grab because of the location, but it's also just nice. It's light, it's pleasant, it's princessy, and it's not too sweet. Moving down to the next shelf, this one's actually a little bit shorter than the one right above it. So in the very back, you might be able to see I have a couple little mini Kayali fragrances. I can't fit any full-size fragrances back there, so that's where I have the minis. And then on the first shelf where I can fit fragrances, that's where I have the majority of my Kayali fragrances. I have a few down on the second shelf as well, but I basically have the entire collection from Kayali. One of my most used fragrances from Kayali is Vanilla 28. I've been going through my little mini travel size. I also have this in the full size. Silk Santal 36 was probably my favorite new fragrance launch of 2023. It's incredible. I've heard rumors she is bringing this back. Because it was limited edition, I find myself saving this. I don't really want to spray it, which is ridiculous because I love it so much. Definitely a princess perfume. Vanilla Royale is another one of my favorites from the brand. I'm going to go ahead and give you my top 5 favorite Kayali fragrances. Then we have Oudgasm Vanilla Oud. And finally, I really love Sweet Diamond Pink Pepper 25. This smells so luxurious. It smells more expensive than it is, and it's the perfect fragrance for a girls' night out, a date night, anytime you want a mood boost. It just puts a smile on my face. I love this one. Here in the middle, I have my 2 full-size Initio fragrances, and then I have 3 travel sprays in the corner. I am very new to this brand, but it has quickly become one of my favorite niche fragrance houses. They have an incredibly strong selection, but some of my favorite fragrances at the moment, they're really beautiful, very complex, very sexy. This is Paragon. This is Addictive Vibration. And then I have Side Effect, Musk Therapy, and Absolute Aphrodisiac, which I've been getting a lot of use out of. Eventually, I'm gonna need a full-size bottle of this one. I have to say, this is a very strong shelf. I also have my entire Creed collection, starting with Sublime Vanille, one of my all-time favorites, Aventus for Her, Royal Princess Oud, Queen of Silk, a new favorite, Spring Flower, Carmina, Love in White, and Windflowers. And then down at the bottom, I have a mixture of other niche fragrance brands. I have 3 Skylar fragrances, 2 Carner Barcelona fragrances. I have a couple Matière Première. Down here in the front, we have some Montal, Acro, a few one-offs, including the Letta fragrance, Fenty, L'Orchestra, Floral Street. There's really no rhyme or reason here. I did my best to keep brands together. You can see the Radical Rose and Vanilla Powder aren't right next to each other, but at least they're on the same shelf. These 3 Skylar fragrances are turned on their side. It's the only way they'll fit on the shelf, but then I can't see their label. So if I can't see the label and I don't really know what I'm grabbing, I'm probably just not going to mess around with it. Doesn't help that this is the bottom shelf of this particular column. But there are a lot of favorites here, a lot of new favorites, a lot of old favorites. I really love Stephanie Letta's fragrance, 22 Oris. This is so beautiful for spring. Tardez is a beautiful almond floral. Latin Lover is a great floral fragrance. Both of these would be incredible for spring. And this is a relatively new favorite or a new discovery for me. It's Skylar Sunkissed Dahlia. I thought this launched in 2024. I guess it launched at the very end of last year, but this is incredible. One of my favorite new fragrances and the best Skylar fragrance, hands down. Arizona Bloom from Floral Street is another one of my favorites. This I've had for a long time. I feel like I don't get nearly as much use out of it anymore, but it's incredible. I have 3 full-size Montal fragrances, Arabian's Tonka, Sensual Instinct, and Rose's Musk. We're back at the top of the second bookcase, and this is where I'm storing all of my Tom Ford fragrances, my replica fragrances, and then I also have a couple one-offs here in the front. Starting in the very back, I have Rose d'Amalfi, 2 bottles of Tom Ford Lost Cherry, Cherry Smoke, Electric Cherry, Rose Prick, Soleil Brûlant, and Mer Mystère at the very end. In my 3 travel sprays, I have Soleil Blanc, Rose d'Amalfi, and Tom Ford Lost Cherry. And then over in the corner tucked away, I also have Métallique and Café Rose. My 6 replica fragrances there in the center are Jazz Club, On a Date, Beach Walk, Matcha Meditation, Bubble Bath, and By the Fireplace. In the very front, I have Glossier You. This one is engraved with my name. I got that from Sephora Squad. That was such a great gift. I have the MCM fragrance, Gourmand Bacour. This is a really beautiful butterscotch. And Tuiles de Hermès Eau Poivrée. Moving down, this is where I keep all of my Roja fragrances, all of my Florist London fragrances, and then a couple one-offs in the front. This is a very strong shelf. It's right in the center. Most everything is easy to grab here. And this shelf does contain some of my all-time favorite fragrances in the collection. So that's why I have these kind of front and center. My top 3 from Roja hands down would be Elixir, 51, and Reckless. Enigma is a close fourth, but those are definitely my top 3. I love Elixir so much. I have the Essence de Parfum, the Parfum, and then I also have the newly repackaged Essence de Parfum. So 3 of these Roja bottles are all the same, Elixir. And then 2 of the fragrance bottles are 51. That was my first discovery, or my first love, I should say, from Roja. An incredible fragrance for the summertime. It smells like a sunset. It smells like the most luxurious summer vacation. I love it. I had a little more space over here on the side, so this is where I have my Loewe Woman fragrance. That's a newer addition to my collection, but a long time love. Chypris is a really beautiful floral, probably one of the most underrated florals in my collection. This is going to be so beautiful for spring. I haven't worn this a lot lately, but I'm excited to get more use out of it. It's gorgeous. And then we have Sirena. This is a mermaid fragrance. It's perfect for spring, summer. It's aquatic, floral. I think there's some berries in there. Such a pretty perfume. It's a princessy mermaid aquatic, if that makes sense. I love cherry blossom perfumes, and cherry blossom from Florist London might be my favorite. It's kind of perfect. It's a little bit singular in the best way possible. It smells light, fresh. It smells exactly like cherry blossom. Platinum 22 is a very regal fragrance. It was created to mark the Platinum Jubilee in 2022. It's a little sweet, a little gourmand, a little floral. It was inspired by the Queen's Gardens. This has such a special place in my heart, and it really is a gorgeous fragrance. If you love fig and you love sandalwood, I think you'll really love Mulberry Fig. This is the perfect summertime fragrance. It reminds me of wearing an all-white chic outfit down on the beach. It actually smells like a lot of the really fancy hotel lobbies down on South Beach, so I think this is a perfect Miami fragrance. And finally, I have Honey Oud, Lily, and a Rose 4. These are my only two fragrances from Jo Malone. I have English Pear and Sweet Pea and Peony and Blush Suede. I'm pretty sure I just stuck this in the front because it's from Penhaligon's and I wanted to keep my English brands together, but this is Changing Constance. And another one off from Erin, this is Rose de Grace Rouge. And a newer addition to my collection and another one of my favorite fragrance launches of 2023, Amouage Guidance. Continuing down to the next shelf, I spy another Penhaligon's fragrance that is the favorite right there in the center, so that should probably be moved up near Changing Constance, although they're not similar at all. They're from the same brand, but they're not similar fragrances, so I guess it doesn't make that much of a difference. But down here I have all of my Xerjoff fragrances, my Soradora, Lancôme, Bond Number 9, I have a Love Shack Fancy fragrance here. I have done my best to separate my niche fragrances from designer. This is maybe a bit of a mix. I would consider Lancôme to be designer fragrances, but I have La Vieille Belle, Iris Absolue, La Vieille Belle. Back in the corner is Idole Nectar. And down here in the corner is the original Idole. I also have another bottle of Idole upstairs. I use it as my bedtime fragrance. I find it to be really relaxing. So I'll probably go through that Idole pretty quickly sometime soon, and then I'll probably just move this one upstairs. My biggest complaint about this shelf is I don't like that the Soradora fragrances are in the back there because I'm just not going to grab them. I have Orchidée Rouge and Mendoral. They're both incredible. They're almondy, vanilla, just beautiful fragrances that I would absolutely get more use out of if they weren't tucked in the back. The problem is because they are on the shorter side, it just makes sense to put them on one of the top shelves in the back. Not a lot of other fragrances can fit back there because the bottles are too tall. Bond Number 9, you can't miss these, which is great because I grab these regularly as well. Greenwich Village has been a long time favorite. When I first discovered this fragrance, I said, this is my signature scent. I don't care about other fragrances. This is how I want to smell every single day. It's one of my most complimented fragrances and it's so much fun to wear. You just know you smell better than everybody else. It's expensive though, so I don't wear it every day like a signature scent. I'm clinging to every last drop. I also have Tribeca. This is another really fun fragrance to wear. It's spicy, smells like caramel. And then Love Shack Fancy Bohème. This is a beautiful aquatic floral. It has peony, berries, really beautiful for spring. And then back up to the center, I have all of my Xerjoff fragrances. I didn't realize how many of those I had. I have Dolce Amalfi, Lyra, Dama Bianca. I have Italica and Bouquet Ideal, and Cruz de la Certu, La Capitale, and Herba Gold. Some of the most incredible niche fragrances. If I had to choose a favorite, hands down, Dama Bianca, all day, every day. Next would probably be Lyra, and then I have no idea what comes in third place. I love Cruz de la Sur, I like Bouquet Ideal, I like Herba Gold, I like La Capitale. I would say those 4 fragrances have a lot of similarities. I'm not sure you would necessarily need all 4 in your collection. If I really was trying to narrow down this shelf, I could probably just choose one favorite from that bunch. Italica would probably go as well. I know that's a crowd favorite. It's just not my favorite. It's a little bit too heavy. When I kept Italica, I got rid of something. Ouverture, I believe I got rid of. We've now reached the bottom of the second bookcase, and this is where I'm starting to integrate more designer fragrances, although we still have some niche represented here. Down at the front, I have my collection from the Seven Virtues, including Cherry Ambition, Coconut Sun, Blackberry Lily, Vanilla Woods, Amber Vanilla, a new favorite, and Lotus Pear. Here on the side is Angel Elixir, just kind of tucked in right here. Exalté by Fumi Monet, Lychee Rose by Nest, Sweet and Super Amber. These are Ellis Brooklyn fragrances. And then from Juliet Has a Gun, I have Lady Vengeance, Ode to Dullness, and Lust for Sun. No question, Lust for Sun is my favorite from Juliet Has a Gun. I have a couple Alien fragrances. I think Alien Goddess, Alien Goddess Intense, I think. Clean Reserve Sparkling Sugar. That is an incredibly underrated fragrance. In the back is my Viktor and Rolf, Good Fortune, Flower Bomb Ruby Orchid. I also have the new Tiger Lily. That's an incredible fragrance for summer. I haven't put it on the shelf yet because it's still in the box. We finally made it to the top of the third and final bookcase. This shelving unit came from IKEA, by the way, and it was created to be a corner unit. In the old apartment, I did have it set up in the corner, but ever since we moved, I've just kept it flat against the wall. But on this shelf right here, this is where I keep all of my Chanel fragrances. And then I also have some other designer fragrances, some Burberry, Prada, YSL. You can see the bulk of the first and second row is dedicated to Chanel. I have 16 fragrances total. I want to say I've shared a top 10. I've ranked these fragrances before. So many favorites. I mean, these are all classics in my book, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. If you'd like to see a dedicated video to my favorite fragrances from each brand, or even ranking all of my fragrances from a particular brand, let me know. A few standouts that I will always have in my fragrance collection no matter what include Gardenia. This is one of the exclusive fragrances. It was my wedding day scent. I actually wore the Parfum on my wedding day, but since I like to save this and keep it, I don't really like to open this. I also picked up the Eau de Parfum so I could actually wear and enjoy the fragrance as well. Coco Noir has a special place in my heart. It's a very nostalgic fragrance. Chanel Chance is incredibly nostalgic. That was the very first Chanel fragrance I ever bought with my own money. I also really love Allure Sensuelle. I think that is one of the most underrated Chanel fragrances. So many great perfumes here. Down here at the front, I have Burberry Her, Burberry Goddess, Prada Paradox. I also have Prada Iris, Black Opium Le Parfum, which is my favorite interpretation. YSL Libre Le Parfum, again, that one is my favorite. And YSL Baby Cat and YSL Lavalier are tucked in the corner there. My favorite YSL is definitely Baby Cat. This is one of the most incredible fragrances. I don't like to talk about it too much because unfortunately it's not widely available, but it should be. Next shelf down, we have a lot going on here. A lot of designer fragrances, still some niche. In the back right-hand corner, I have all of my Maison Francis Kurkdjian fragrances, Gentle Fluidity Gold, Baccarat Rouge 540, and 724. Also have little Chloe Nomad back there. I have a few Valentino fragrances, some of my Kilian fragrances, including Princess, Good Girl Gone Bad, Angel Share. Those are three of my favorites. I have a lot of Armani fragrances, a lot of My Way, and then Si Passion, that's probably my favorite. If I had to choose a favorite My Way interpretation, I'm honestly not sure. I think it would probably be My Way Le Parfum. To be honest, my Dior fragrance collection needs some work. I need to focus on decluttering and organizing first, but there are so many other Dior fragrances I would add to this. A lot from their private line. But even J'adore, that's an incredible fragrance. I love it. And I don't have J'adore in my collection. And then I also have two other fragrances from Ellis Brooklyn, Florist and Apple Love. Moving down one shelf, and we're back into niche territory with the exception of my Carolina Herrera fragrances right here in the front. I have Good Girl and Good Girl Blush. Both of those are beautiful. In the front, I have my Mise en Cire collection, including Sweet Praline, Très Cher, and For Your Love. 3 incredible niche fragrances. From room 1015, I have Sonic Flower and Cherry Punk, one of my all-time favorite princess fragrances, Gritty Tutu. And then from BDK, I have Gris Charnel, Pas de Soie, and Rouge Smoking. All 3 of these are incredible. If I had to choose a favorite BDK, I would probably say Rouge Smoking. And then I have my La Perla collection. I love all 3 of these. They're so feminine. From The Harmonist, I have Yin Transformation and Moon Glory. These are incredible. Moon Glory is one of my favorite standout summer fragrances. In the very back, I have Exidolo, Peregrina from Thameen, and another 13. That's it for the risers, so this shelf is kind of a free-for-all. I have a lot of my new discovery fragrances down here. Anything that I can fit. I did my best to organize this quickly, but a lot of times fragrances are stacked on this shelf because it's just a bit too crowded, as you can see. But I have some of my favorites from Tiziana Terenzi. Cassiopeia is definitely one of my collection standouts. It will always be one of my favorites. And Haley is another one of my favorites. Talk about a show-stopping fragrance. Even though they're closer to the bottom, I have easy access to these, so I can actually wear them more than some of the others. Louis Rouge from Christian Louboutin. I think this is Louboutin's best fragrance. This is Madurai from Memo and Sandelson from Hermetica. My favorite recent fragrance discoveries are right here. 3 from Spirit of Kings, 3 from Algabra. I did a dedicated video on these fragrances, so I'm not going to go too in depth, but they're amazing. And I need to find space a little bit further up on the shelf. Marc Jacobs Daisy, Oh So Intense. This is Coco Fig and Vinny Coco from Comptoir Sud Pacifique. And then down at the very bottom, it's a bit of a mess. This is where I have all of my body sprays. I also have a couple cupcakes here from House of Sillage. And up at the very top, I also have some other fragrances. I also use these shelves for storage, so it gets a bit tricky at the top and bottom. But this is where I have some of my commodity fragrances, including Commodity Gold, the Commodity Gold Intense, and Rain, which is one of my favorites. I have the new Ralph Lauren Romance Intense, my Dolce & Gabbana collection. I actually don't mind this location because they're really easy to grab and put back. I also have a couple fragrances up there from Versace, and then some of my most prized fragrances, my Guerlain collection, including my Guerlain Cherry Blossom. They come out with these limited edition cherry blossom bottles every single year. Each year they're different. They're incredibly expensive, but it truly is a piece of art. Mon Guerlain Intense, Angelique Noir, Spiritus Double Vanille. Some of my favorite fragrances are from Guerlain. And then I also have Celine Black Tie. And somewhere in the back of these shelves, I have a little Chanel coffret set, my Celine coffret set. So that's another reason why I definitely need to go through and organize. And there you have it, my entire fragrance collection. It's a lot of fragrances, but so many incredible standouts. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video and seeing everything on the shelves behind me. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Leave me your comments, questions down below. As always, I will be linking everything mentioned. Everything on my face will be listed down below in the description box for your convenience. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.